Watch yourself rob a bank. No identity is safe from the Chameleon.
The Chameleon Origin explored. Dmitri Smerdyakov, popularly known as the Chameleon, is a supervillain under Marvel Comics and belongs to Spider-Man's gallery of rogues. He was created by the Marvel legends Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The Chameleon made his debut in March 1963 in the initial issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. He is also the first supervillain adversary Spider-Man went against. The character gained substantial popularity and went on to appear in several Spider-Man adaptations. IGN ranked him as the 14th greatest enemy of Spider-Man. His abilities to disguise himself into someone else allows the writers to fabricate intense storylines and chase sequences.
Spider-Man must be quite confused right about now.
The Chameleon is also the half-brother of Kraven the Hunter, a fan-favorite Spider-Man villain. The connection between the two of them catapulted the Chameleon from being a solo villain to being a well-integrated character in Spider-Man's universe. Spider-Man has a renowned rogue gallery, with heavyweight names such as Venom, Green Goblin, and Otto Octavius sharing the spotlight. But as Spider-Man's first villain adversary, the Chameleon makes a dynamic impression on the audience. Unfortunately, he has been overlooked in pop culture, despite making recurring appearances as a villain. In 2019, the Marvel Cinematic Universe teased the appearance of the Chameleon, and it's about time for this memorable villain to get his share of the spotlight. Before diving into the content, we would like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to Marvelous Videos, like and comment on our videos, and press the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload a video. We will be grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content. And with that, let's get right into this video.
Places you're most likely to be found, what kind of crimes you show up to fight. I do my research. And die!
The Chameleon, an elite spy and a master of disguise. Originally known as Dmitri Nikolaevich Smerdyakov, the Chameleon was born in Soviet Russia. He was a half-brother but also a servant to Sergei Kravenov, aka Kraven the Hunter. The two of them shared the same father, Red Skull. Dmitri's mother, Sonya Smerdyakov, was a servant with a father who hated him and a mother who considered him to be a humiliation. Dmitri went on to experience an immensely uneventful childhood. Meanwhile, his half-brother Sergei Kravenov came the closest to tolerate him, and yet he abused Dmitri. This caused Dmitri to develop mixed feelings toward his half-brother. He admired Kravenov, but he also resented him. To gain his approval and acknowledgement, he would use his impersonation skills to entertain his brother. Due to the abuse Dmitri faced, he had to live in Kraven's shadow while he was growing up. This had a deep negative impact on his psyche, and he ended up developing severe depression that caused him to even be suicidal. He began to have an identity crisis as he believed that he was nobody. He felt like he had to keep himself hidden, which leads us to believe that was the reason. We see him taking on the identities of other people as the Chameleon. This becomes the coping mechanism as it allows him to deal with his weakened sense of identity by impersonating others. Interestingly, the Red Skull was the one who built the projector belt that allowed Dmitri to turn into others. Sometime during his childhood, he was approached by the gentleman, or Gustav Fiers, a man with a terrible reputation in the criminal underground. Fiers was notoriously known for devising elaborate skills to multiply his personal wealth. He was also an active member who influenced several key history events while acting from behind the curtains. Fiers was impressed by Dmitri's method of acting and his ability to disguise himself. He took him to his brother, Karl, aka the Finisher, who helped Dmitri hone his abilities. He was then enrolled to the Committee for State Security, or the KGB, according to the abbreviation from the Russian translator for cover arts, where he bettered himself. In this school, several trainees learned to master their impersonating abilities so that they could become sleeper agents known as chameleons. But only Dmitri was able to acquire this mantle. After mastering his talent, he immigrated to the United States of America. In America, he went after Spider-Man, but he ended up getting arrested. When Kravenov returned as well, the two half-brothers banded with each other to take down the wall crawler. However, the two still had an unhealthy relationship, especially with Dmitri now trying to prove his superiority over Kravenov.
Chameleon, stop! Whoa, nice haircut.
Spider-Man, the animated series. In Spider-Man, the animated series, Dmitri makes his debut as the Chameleon in the episode Day of the Chameleon. Here he works under a terrorist group who order him to stop a peace treaty agreement between two warring countries. However, Nick Fury from S.H.I.E.L.D. warns Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson about it. After some tedious chasing, Spider-Man succeeds at subduing him. Later, he went on to work under Kingpin. He switched his masks for an image inducer, i.e. a projector belt which allowed him to impersonate others. Later, Dr. Landon gave him the power to shapeshift without having to use the belt. A handy power-up considering how he was electrocuted when Spider-Man broke the belt during a fight in the animated series. The episode, The Prince of Heroism, altered his origin by a bit. Dmitri was revealed to be the brother of Electro instead of Kraven the Hunter. He is only shown speaking when in disguise and never in his original form. It's not because he can't, but because he just chooses not to.
And who are you supposed to be? Spider-Man. The real one. The real one? You don't even have the costume right.
Spectacular Spider-Man. In Spectacular Spider-Man, Chameleon is one of the series' main antagonists. It does not reveal anything about his connection with Kraven, but he is presented with a Russian accent. Here, he allies himself with the Green Goblin as the series nears its end.
Last chance to prove ourselves again.
We shall secure the location.
The Chameleon, New Origin, straight out of the MCU. The Chameleon's origin story has been revised and expanded upon, and it happens to have an unmistakable takeable parallel with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The school he attended where he was trained to be an espionage agent was run by Carl Fries, better known as the Finisher. It is revealed during a meeting between Chameleon himself, the Finisher, and Teresa Parker. From what we know so far, the school seems to be similar to the Red Room. The MCU movies have toyed with Black Widow's past even before the release of her standalone movie. She trained to be an assassin alongside several other girls in a place called the Red Room. The institute Chameleon attended seems to be very similar, except that it trained men to work in espionage. This broadens the horizon of Chameleon's storyline because now we know that several other impersonators like him might exist. Considering how these places turn the learners into a master of their craft, spies who are as skilled as the Chameleon would only mean more trouble for Spider-Man. Dmitri appears in the MCU. In Spider-Man Far From Home, however, the MCU hasn't introduced characters like Kraven the Hunter or the Fiers, so it is likely that if and when the MCU does expand on the character, there is going to be a new origin story for him.
Dmitri, take him back to the hotel, please.
Yes. Is Chameleon a Skrull in the MCU? Dmitri's role in the MCU, so far, isn't flashy or memorable. Played by Newman Akar, he appears as one of Nick Fury's associates and is sent to monitor Peter Parker while he enjoys his school trip in Austria. He worked alongside Quentin Beck or Mysterio in the trip, oblivious to the Walmart version of a so-called superhero's fraudulent ways. However, in the post-credit scene, it is revealed that Nick Fury and Agent Maria Hill were actually Skrulls who had shapeshifted and impersonated S.H.I.E.L.D. members. Talos, who we have met in Captain Marvel, is the one impersonating Nick Fury while his wife Soren steps into the shoes and clothes and hair and skin of Agent Hill. Talos sends a recorded message to space. The scene shifts and we see Nick Fury, who is now in space and is commanding an army of Skrulls. From what we can observe, the Skrulls seem to be constructing the Station for Sword, which is the intergalactic version of S.H.I.E.L.D. This means that Fury, who Dmitri worked with, is a Skrull. Without a background for Dmitri due to the obvious absence of Kraven and the Fiers in the MCU, there's a possibility that we will get to Dmitri as a master of disguise because he, as a Skrull, can shapeshift. Even though the MCU is yet to reveal or even hint at the powers possessed by Dmitri, it is not likely for them to switch his powers, which would kinda be blasphemous towards the comics. Of course, he could be an impersonator with the help of technology he acquired through the sources, like we've seen Natasha Romanoff do in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. However, the theory about him being a Skrull seems more plausible simply because he is seen working with them. You could say that he did not know about Fury and Hill being Skrulls, but as someone who works under Fury, he would have missed the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., acting out of character. To be fair, if it was the real Fury, he would have probably known about Mysterio being the bad guy.
You're a fake! I'm a fake! Look at this strong jawline! You're the fake!
Nope!
What makes Chameleon so dangerous? According to the primary origin story, Chameleon does not have supernatural powers. His abilities are a product of his trauma, natural affinity, and training. Dmitri would use makeup and costumes to turn into the ones he wanted to impersonate. His image inducer belt could also emit a gas that allowed him to mold his features and help him turn into another person. He implemented the usage of a microcomputer for his belt, with the help from Spencer Smythe. The computer would be programmed with the facial features of several people. It also had the features to analyze the facial features of the people Chameleon encounter and duplicate them. With the help of holographic technology, the Chameleon can turn into others with the push of a button. Not just that, but he could also present as two different people, two different onlookers. The memory material in the costume helped him resemble the outfits of others. He could also use it to do real chameleon things like camouflaging and blending himself in with the background like ninjas and created holograms of people. His abilities were later made innate. It was revealed that he was subjected to an experimental serum which made his flesh, the pigmentation in the epidermis, malleable enough for him to literally shapeshift. It was apparently so effective that he could even alter minor details such as changing his eye color or hairstyle. Don't let the beauty industry know about this, because then they will ask all the girls to look like Diana of Themyscira and all the guys to look like Giga Chad. It is believed that his abilities are limited to the extent of his imagination. This is enhanced with the help of a computer belt which triggers his powers. Without the help of the belt, he would turn into his original dead white form. Strangely, even before his antics in espionage, his family members did not know how he looked, so it might have been an innate ability all along. Even with this origin, Chameleon is shown using the memory material fabric to replicate the costumes of others. Another effect of the serum was probably his enhanced strength and durability alongside a slowed aging. Sure, he wasn't as strong as Kraven, but it was still enhanced beyond the abilities of a regular human. He is also around the same age as Kraven, and we know that Kraven has been seen remembering the events of the Soviet Revolution in 1917. This means that both Dmitri and Kraven are quite old, but they obviously do not look and act the part. No matter how you look at it, the Chameleon is an expert at what he does. It does not matter if it is an innate ability or a technology-induced ability, because even without it, he is a master when it comes to creating lifelike masks or altering his face with makeup. He can also do it all in less than a minute. Put him in a situation that are the least resourceful for him and he will still be able to fool everyone, except that one time when he turned into Peter Parker while being chased by Peter Parker. His abilities when it comes to mimicking the voices and speech patterns of others is second to none. His skills in method acting could help him steal all the Academy Awards. Too bad he did not venture into an entertainment career. Despite being brilliant at so many facets, Chameleon can also speak multiple languages without an accent. He is an expert when it comes to hand-to-hand combat thanks to his training in espionage. He is also a great marksman, a pilot, and an explosive expert. You cannot be a stellar villain without a stellar CV.
Chameleon, what happens now? Now, the real work begins.
Versions of Chameleon in various forms of media. With his enormous range of abilities, connection to Kraven the Hunter, Fierce, and the Red Skull, and endeavors against everyone's favorite wall crawler, the Chameleon has found a spot in several forms of media. Apart from the 90s Spider-Man animated series and Spectacular Spider-Man, he has appeared in other cartoons such as the Marvel Superheroes, the 1980s Spider-Man, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and the 2017 Spider-Man series. So far, he hasn't appeared in any live-action films other than Spider-Man Far From Home, but we hope that he will make more appearances in the MCU. When it comes to video games, the Chameleon is present in the SNES version of Spider-Man. He also appears in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 as an underling of Kingpin. He is present in the Sinister Six novel trilogy, which is written by Adam Troy Castro. What did you think of the Chameleon? Did you enjoy this video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on the video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.
Folds. Say goodnight, Spider-Man.
Good night, Spider-Man.
You did not just do that.